Wonderful.
I think this is my first time of speaking on Sporty FM.
Thank you so much for taking the time out to speak to us here on Sporty FM. Sure. I just want your thought. You represent the Safety and Security Committee at the GFA. What is the committee's response, or what does the committee make of the demands put forward by Asante Kotoko Sporting Club and Accra Hearts of Oak? They want better security. They've given the details in terms of what they want. They want CCTV and all of that at the match venue. So what is the Safety and Security Committee's response or impressions of the demands made by the two biggest clubs in Ghana?
All right. Thank you very much. I think the Safety and Security Committee is actually on course, except that I will say that this very measures or proposal that the two clubs are bringing on, I would say I would say they should have taken their time, because whatever measures that is being put in place will certainly help in making whatever proposal that they are putting in place, work. But this morning, I was thinking we were going to talk something different from that, because this proposal actually isn't why we are here. Something happened, and then I really want to address that particular thing. Now, it has to do with the castigation of my chairperson in the person of Madam Lydia Donko, which I think is out of place by people who are actually saying all sort of things. In the first place, I want to say that the Safety and Security Committee was set up to ensure that, areas within the, the sector of the security that has already been established, the gaps that has been established, all will be addressed. Now, going forward, people like Nana, let me say Nana Apinkra was.
Yeah, Nana Apinkra, yes.
Yes, and a couple of some media personalities, have come after Madam, which I don't think is not proper. It's not proper. Why am I saying this? Madam, for that matter, Security and Safety Committee doesn't speak out of vacuum. You understand what I mean? When this thing happened, Madam hurriedly had to, move to the grounds with one of our colleagues, Felix, to actually ascertain what really had happened. And don't forget that before she speaks, she has some of her subordinates or her colleagues there who might or have picked intel. All right, fast forward. What I want to say is that whatever thing that people are saying or attributing against her is very wrong, in the sense that as I speak to you, and if you allow me, I'm going to put out names. Don't forget that statements have been taken. There are witnesses and there are also suspects. And in all the statements that have been put out, all right, they all attest to the fact that this incident did occurred outside the stadium.
Okay.
So if even it happened within, if it even happened within or without, I think the most important thing for us to look at is ensuring that these things does not happen again. Now, if even Madam comes out to say that this can happen outside the stadium, it means that going forward, in doing deployment, we ensure that we deploy within and without, and add certain radios, around the stadium.
Saint,
security is given.
Okay, Saint, I just want to ask a question.
If people come on air to castigate her, I don't think it's fair.
Okay, Saint, I want to ask a question. Okay,
yes,
do we know for a fact, or that the Safety and Security Committee and the Ghana Police, do these two entities know for a fact that the stabbing took place outside the ground, and there's evidence to that effect?
If you may permit me, like I said in my earlier submission, I said witnesses, and these witnesses are security from Kotoko. All right, and they are also suspects who attest to the fact. Witnesses from Kotoko, one of them is called Eduku.
Okay.
Akuliya, David Kojo, Sakapa, Baba, Ibi.
Okay, Saint, I mean, they can
attest to the fact that Madam just didn't speak out of vacuum. You understand what I mean? They are protocol members. But for me, I think going forward, what we need to also understand is that there's a distinction between what GFA is investigating and what the Ghana police is also, investigating.
Yeah, that's true.
Ghana police's investigation basically, centers on criminality. And then GFA's own has to do with, arrangements and ensuring that, such things does not occur. So we shouldn't confuse the two. All right? So these things actually borders on criminality, and based on that, suspects, witnesses, statements is what Madam Lydia Donko, coined her statement out of.
Okay, fair point. I mean, I understand she has, 1 foot here, 1 foot there. So I completely understand if at certain points she may want to say, she may want to share some.
She has nothing against.
I don't think people believe that she has something against Asante Kotoko. I don't think so at all.
My brother, I know Sporty FM will do the right thing. That's why I love your station. But look, I've listened to about 4 or 5 radio stations within the command.
Yeah, I mean those are Saints. Those are comments made by those radio stations. So let's put those comments aside. Okay, I think you've made the point to clarify the situation. I get you, but those people have made their comments. Here, we just want to move the conversation to the next level. So let's go back to the very first question. Asante Kotoko and Hearts, they are very concerned parties in all of this because they are key players in the Ghanaian football space, as you would know. And all the clubs are important. So I would take it that Hearts and Kotoko are representing a larger club body or the larger club family, and they want better. They want improved security. They've given some details: 100 policemen for Category A matches and some high-profile Category B games. And when they feel that the games are high security, they want 20 military men to be there just to beef up security and prevent things from escalating. I just want to find out. So initially, I asked the question. I'll go back to that. What is the Safety and Security Committee's response to all of this? How will you proceed going forward? Have you already started engaging?
A lot of stakeholders meeting have gone on.
Yes, I know.
The IGP himself, together with the safety and security, and measures that are being put in place to ensure that this does not occur. In fact, what they are even proposing does not even match what we are about bringing out, because we want to ensure that the gaps that have been identified are all closed and ensure that we have an effective security sports policing. One of them has to do with appointing in each region a sports police person that will be trained and ensure that some of these things are addressed. Don't forget that it's not everybody that comes to the stadium as a police person that is well versed in this football thing. Mm-hmm. So proposal from my boss and then the IGP and others is that from now, police persons that will be associated with our football are going to be trained, know what to do, know what not to do, and stuff like that. Apart from what they come in to do based on the criminality aspect, but we're also looking at measures to be put in place to ensure that we have a sound and a safe environment going forward. So I don't think what they are saying is not far-fetched though, but I think we have also put in measures which I must say supersede what they have even come out with, because the essence of this Safety and Security Committee, it was not just formed for forming sake. We have this thing, polling thing that has come. It's an eye opener, and I think has also, like I said, has shown a lot of gaps that proper measures, initiatives are going to be put in place to ensure that this does not occur, and then we improve our game. For me, and the Safety Committee, our main objective is to ensure that we have safe playing fields and then to also attract sponsors. This thing that has happened will certainly put off sponsors from coming on, and it's on our heart to ensure that we have safety and security measures put in place to ensure that everything works out perfectly for us.
I see. Forward. Okay. Does the committee, which timelines are we working with? I asked this question with the context or against the backdrop of the league being paused and all of these things. Do we have an idea of timelines, i.e., when you feel that, or when the Safety and Security Committee believes that things are in place and we can resume the playing of the Ghana Premier League?
I wouldn't be able to give you the timeline, but what I can tell you is that as we're speaking now, there are measures that have been put in place, and like I told you, the training of some of the police personnel that will help, augment the front of our policing is ongoing. Okay, so I'm sure in the course of time, which would not be far, the committee will come out with this very thing that you're talking about. I don't think it will be far because we don't have time on our hands. All right, and I don't think it's something that is so huge that cannot be worked within within this time. So just have assurance that, like I said, this bulletin is an eye opener. And you see, in security, certain things happen, and it kind of also makes you have more ideas. Example is 9/11. As a result of that, there has been a lot of protocols, a lot of things that have come into place. Okay, so same that the safety and security, plus the Ghana Police, the IGP himself, and others, and making sure that we will go into our games without experiencing this what do you call it obnoxious thing that we witnessed recently.
Okay, all right. Saint, two final questions. One, let's go back to the statement made by your boss, DCOP, Madam DCOP Lady Adonko, on the exact location of the stabbing of Nana Pole. Mm-hmm. So some accounts said inside, some accounts said outside, and then DCOP Lady Adonko said the stabbing happened outside. I just want to understand something. The stabbing being done inside and the stabbing being done outside, do the locations matter in the grand scheme of things? So if it happened inside, where does it take the investigation, or what does it mean? If the stabbing happened outside, what does it mean? I just want to understand why that clarity was made and what it sought to achieve in terms of the wider conversation or the investigation.
Correct. You see, in security, before you get to the very point that you asked, there's the need for you to establish metrics. Okay? And the metrics helps you to, as it were, know as to whether there is the very security initiative that you are putting are effective or not. This metrics also helps you to know the very gaps, the very threats, the very things that comes up for you to find countermeasures. Now, if as a result of the statements made by the witnesses and the suspects, okay, plus some other things that have been gathered through the investigations, it helps the police to, as it were, help in deploying police personnel. Okay, so it's neither here or there if she says outside or inside. It's an idea that will help the police to ensure that in deploying in future, we have to consider the outside and probably some radius closer to, away from the stadium. Okay, so it gives you an idea as to how to do proper deployment. It gives you an idea as to how to take measures in ensuring that where if you find yourself within the stadium or outside the stadium, certain security initiatives must be put in place to ensure that supporters' lives, are safe. So if she talks about that, it is not as if she said this out of the blue or out of her head. It's as a result of the statement that has been written by Kotoko bodyguards, security persons, and also the suspect. So it is not something that she just conjured.
I think that's not in doubt. Clearly, she didn't conjure. I just ask for our own education, because you see, there are those who would. You just hold on. There are those who say that, okay, if the said incident happened outside, there are those who have interpreted it to mean that maybe it wants to take the blame away from the police. Some people have all kinds of understanding, or they've put their own interpretation to the statement. That's why I asked for an understanding or the basis of the statement, and I think you've given it well.
Sure. You see, I told you about some of our police persons who, I must say, are not well.
They are not well versed in sports policing and all of that. Yes.
So exactly. So as a result of establishment of these metrics, It goes a long way in helping the safety and security committee, for that matter, the police, to know what to employ to ensure that this thing does not occur. All right. So if she says it happened outside the stadium, it's kind of an information that will help the police going forward to ensure that proper deployments are done around, within, outside, and maybe some radius away from the stadium.
Okay.
Deployment is done.
Okay.
So it's not anything. But let me put this out there. You see, I'm taking some intel from Kumasi. You know, I come from Kumasi. And last year, something happened. Okay, a match between Hearts and Kotoko and Nation FC, where some of the Kotoko supporters did misbehave. Actually, it's a video out there. And some of the guys were taken to court. So people are basing on that to mean that Madam Ndiadonko is against Kotoko. It is never like that.
I think
we started our work. We said it, look, whether you are the president's son, you are whatever, once the law catches up with you, the law will deal with you. So it's not as if she has everything against Kotoko. She has nothing.
Okay.
It's very disheartening.
Okay.
For Christ's sake, she's a woman. Don't forget, she's also a lawyer, an astute lawyer. All right, so there's no way she will come out to do something, out of vacuum. The statement and information that those at what they call it, Shinane gave him.
Okay. Okay.
The district commander gave her.
Okay.
It's what gave the informed decision.
Okay, great. My colleague Raymond Yamado is here. He wants to ask you a question. So the next voice you hear will be Raymond's voice.
Saint, good morning.
Yes, my brother. Good morning, my brother. Long time.
Yeah, I did. Quick one. I don't want you to go off before you hear me making these comments.
All right.
Is the Safety and Security Committee aware that security must be provided for the perimeter outside the stadium, the roads that lead to the stadium, inside the stands, and immediately outside the stands? Is the security committee aware of that? Let's start from there. Per FIFA SCAF standard protocols, are they aware?
Sure. Yes, we are very much aware. But you see, my brother, all these things that you have mentioned has to do with what they call it, money. I don't know whether you heard. Okay, you were not part of that meeting. And I think the BNA or so, when we met up with the supporters, on Sundays, most of the police personnel, are free and virtually do, attend matches in the BNA when they are playing. When you just oppose that with other places where probably security will be deployed, police personnel will be deployed to other places for deployment's sake, we don't seem to get the numbers. So that is number one. Number two, it has to do with also budget for these people. You can't just let the police come without giving them anything. And I think the GS has taken it upon himself to ensure that all these things will be looked at. Like I said early on, policing, is an eye-opener. In security, most of the time, certain things happen and it kind of brings that very big push or force to make certain things happen. Then you come to appreciate. Don't forget that in this life, not even in Ghana alone, a lot of places, people do not even respect security. It is when something happens, then it's, that's this, that. So I think policing is something that is going to help, for us to appreciate, the presence of security, just like Riley said. We are aware. But the point is, sometimes you just can't go. You know our policing system. You know what I mean? But I must say, take this opportunity also to thank the police commanders who even helped last season. Some places that I visited, I mean, there could have been some more dangerous thing that we witnessed recently, But most of the commanders did well in coming and getting a few men and to man some of the matches for us. So I think I think this is something that it's on our paper, and I think the GS and those who matter will ensure that we implement it to the letter.
Saint, with all these challenges of lack of personnel available on match days and all, how should clubs be convinced, or how can clubs be convinced that in the next 2 weeks or the remaining matches in the course of the season, they would have adequate security personnel to do the same job that they've not been able to do over the last few games we've seen in the Ghana Premier League? How would they be convinced? Because, you see, That is one part of my question. The second part is, having admitted that indeed outside the stadium is part of where security must be provided, and it was not provided.
Yeah.
Does it still make a difference as to where the murder happened, for a clarification or for emphasis to be laid on the fact that it happened outside?
Yes. You see, let me answer this before I go to the second one. You see, many a times people think that, it's within the stadium that some of these things happen. And going forward, in addressing such issues, don't forget that some people will not even go to stadium anymore. I know people who, as a result of the May night, do not want to go to stadium. Okay, so if really the information that Madam got on the ground that this can happen outside, it means that, like I said, measures must be put in place to ensure that people are safe before you even get to the stadium. During, after, and what have you. You know what I mean? So the other question has to do with going forward. You see, don't forget that it's the home club that are supposed to even provide security. The safety and security only goes to augment. You know what I mean? The home clubs are supposed to provide security. We have this stewards thing that is also in place. That also goes. They are not security persons too, but they kind of help. My brother, all boils down to ensuring that we have an effective, security in place. Ensure that resources are provided to cap this thing that today, this one you and I are talking about.
Would
I don't know I've answered your question.
Oh, no, you have in a bit, but let me ask my final question. Would the Safety and Security Committee admit that they failed supporters, or they have failed supporters, all this while by failing to ensure that the right security measures are put in place or are in place on match days? Will you admit that you have failed in that regard?
Like I said, it is the responsibility of the home club to ensure that there's adequate security, but not to put it on the safety and security. Because what happens is that during match day, all right.
Saint, just a minute.
Hold on.
You are supposed to play a supervisory role, or you are supposed to have oversight over what happens on match days, right?
Exactly.
So that comes in the failure.
Hello.
So that's where the failure on your part comes in.
Before the match is played, apart from the home club providing security, there's a team that also checks as to whether to check the flashpoints where we think matches of such nature or the category of a match is looked at for the second time and ensure that we beef up security and what have you. But like I said, going forward, I wouldn't say we have failed though, because the command now going forward, the commanders in the various regions that where the places where football do take place are going to ensure that the right numbers of personnel are deployed to avert this thing. But I wouldn't say completely that the system failed in this regard, because the first person, the first entity that ought to have provided security was the home club. And if the home club had any problem in beefing up or what have you, was to contact us to ensure that, we will do this happened last season during the Division 1, some of the Division 1 clubs, where we had to move police personnel from one place to another to, strengthen the front of personnel at a particular match venue.
Okay, Saint Nathan back here. I just want to ask something. So on match days, do you have representatives of the Safety and Security Committee at the venues? Every weekend we play about 9 or so games in the Ghana Premier League. So which means that...
let me say that...
Yes.
Sure. So like I said, matches that we feel are marked as flashpoints. Some of us do go, and then because we can't, all of us, we are not more than 5, all right. But places where all of us cannot go, and let's say they have 5 flashpoints, what the chairperson does is that she calls the commander there and ensure that the commander and his team, beef out security to ensure that thing untoward happens. Okay. So, like I said, before a match is played, we kind of gather intel and know that, okay, Pando Sports Stadium, there's going to be so and so and so. So, okay, commander there, make sure that. But you see, in the past, as compared to now commanders, and for that matter, people are going to be trained in that regard, because the police, there are police people who there are some who do not actually have anything to do, nothing to have
Okay.
to do with sport,
Okay.
or football for that matter.
But don't you think that you need more people from the committee to be at the grounds, just to keep an eye on teams and to ensure that the right things are done? Because you did say that it was the responsibility of home teams to ensure that there's always adequate security. And yes, and in your response to Raymond, you did admit that yes, there were gaps and all of that. My recommendation would be that maybe you should get more people on the committee. If you have at least one rep at every match ground, just to keep an eye on the home team and to ensure that the right things are done. Because as we've seen in life, people will do what you inspect, not what you expect. So you tell home teams, provide security, and then because they know that there may not be somebody from the safety and security committee there, they will do what they want. So maybe going forward, you should have a body or two, one person or two at least there to ensure that the right things are done. And then you can properly hold teams to task when they don't fulfill their end of the security bargain.
So what you have said has been killed. I think in my earlier submission, I told you that now the commanders at the various places where matches will be played are going to be part of our decision making.
Yes.
And in our planning.
Yeah, and I'm saying that you should have more people on the committee. So like yourself, you should have more of you spread around so that at every match venue we can have at least 2 members from the GFA safety or security there, safety and security committee there.
What I'm saying, that from the commander, people from the police force will be trained in that regard.
And I think people from the committee should also be there. Don't you think so?
No, it's the same thing, because we cannot be at every place. And don't forget, it has to do with money. I don't know whether you're getting it.
You see, I understand it has to do with money, but what amount of money can you place on the life of a human being? So I believe that even if you put in a lot of money, it's to everybody's benefit.
Perfect. So in the same way, it's about time that we give attention to security proper by every stakeholder in this regard. Okay, so that we come to appreciate the work of the security and ensure that the right things are put in place.
I see.
To answer your question,
yeah.
Apart from the commanders, personnel from the police are going to be trained, in the football, circles.
Yeah, good.
To kind of appreciate what I have. So, like I said, what we used to do is that flashpoints, when we get the intel, or before we do, we check ourselves, and then we make calls, talk to some of the club members, we say, oh, please, we need security. Some even clubs, home clubs, do not even want to, augment the police strength because of, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So, out of our way, we try as much as possible to go there to ensure that nothing to happen.
Okay. So, I mean, yeah. Yeah, finish your point, please. I have one final question.
Yeah, so what we are saying all has been captured. So the only thing is that we just have to put in more fuel in that regard to ensure that such a thing would never be repeated.
Okay, one final question. Last weekend, there was an incident involving Wamanafo Mighty Royals and Tano Bofakwa. Is the second incident between these two clubs in about 4 years, I think. The last one in 2021, referees got attacked and all. Last weekend, it was the same thing. The GFA has issued a statement, has punished the club and all. Can you give us some more detail and how this incident may have happened on maybe the blind side of the Safety and Security Committee? Do you have any info how prepared were you for such a game? Because following Nana Pole's incident, we thought things would improve, and then 2 weekends after that, there's something happening in Division 1 involving Wamanafo, Mighty Royals, who seem to have a track record of misconducting themselves at home.
I don't actually have much information on that, and I want to say that this Pole thing actually took the attention of almost everybody.
I see.
I think all these things are being looked at going forward to ensure that, like you rightly said, and I said, some more persons will be involved.
Yes, I think so. You see, because if you have a larger committee, last week's incident will not be on the committee's blind side.
Exactly. So and as a result of handling police things, the inputs that were made, training of some police personnel regarding football and what have you, using ensuring that the commanders at the various places where we play football, get directly involved, are things that are going to cure some of these things. So I do take it upon myself. I do accept that, look, what has happened is rather something that is going to improve our football, security-wise.
Okay, we hope that things will change, because, Saint, I can tell you for a fact, lots of people speak to me personally, and they are very sad and upset at what has happened. And some people are even terrified now of going to watch Ghana Premier League games. So,
in fact, that is actually what some of us are looking at, because you see, football is money, and if we do the football well, we can have a lot of money. Don't forget, even the vendors that go to sell at the various stadiums and what have you, also it's a source of their livelihood. So it's something that we have to give back our attention to. So what I want to say lastly is that your station hasn't done that, but I want to plead with people who come out to castigate the chairperson of the safety and security. It's not fair. She's a police person in the first place. She's a lawyer, and she doesn't speak out of vacuum. She comes on air to talk and clarify.
Okay.
Initially, she didn't want to grant interview.
Okay.
But sometimes there's a need for her to come out to let people know. But it is not out of malice that she spoke or said that this thing happened outside the stadium.
Okay.
Also, something
I think
going forward.
Okay, I think that's clear. And as I said earlier,
I want you guys to also help in that regard.
Okay.
Because some of your media guys, seriously, I know you guys are doing professional things. I love your station, seriously. And I think all others will emulate the good, things that you are putting out there. Because when you listen to one side, for instance, that Nana, for instance, was accusing Madam of being one-sided. It is never like that. He himself has been one-sided, listening to just the supporters, without looking at what the police, even at the Sunyani place, the commander there has on the table for him. So in all things, we look at both sides of the coin, and then before we take a decision, you don't just say that the madam doesn't like Kotoko. Why would she hate Kotoko? When we know that Kotoko has two great clubs in this country that makes the football generates a lot of funds for our football. We get a lot of funds from these two big clubs. So it is never like that.
Okay, okay.
So help us in this regard, and let the people, your listeners and what have you, know that she has nothing against Asante Kotoko. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Saint Osei.